When I was 7 years old, while playing hide-and-seek with my younger sister, an earthquake suddenly occurred. I was rescued by my parents first, but the rescue team searched for 3 days and 3 nights without finding where my sister was hiding. My parents questioned me with red eyes, but I just muttered in a daze. I don't know where she is hiding. Since that day, my parents, who always pampered me like a princess, never smiled at me again. This time, they were preparing to visit my sister's grave, and just because I said I wanted to go along, my mother broke down again. Get out. It's all because you demanded to play hide-and-seek that you killed your sister. Didn't you want to hide? Then crawl inside. Mom screamed until her voice was hoarse and roughly stuffed me into the suitcase. But she forgot that this type of suitcase, once locked with a code, cannot be opened from the inside by me. I obediently curled up and crawled into the cramped space of the suitcase. Over the years, I had become used to treating the suitcase as my secret base. Every time Mom lost control and smashed things on the table, with just a glance from Dad, I would immediately crawl in, zip it up, and pretend not to hear anything. Just like playing hide-and-seek, I started counting, preparing to count to several tens of 10,000. But this time, I didn't finish counting as usual. The cramped position for too long made my limbs numb, my knees pressed against my chest, making it difficult to breathe. I used my small hand to pry at the gap in the zipper, but no matter what, I couldn't push it open.
Are JoJo's things all in the suitcase? I'll put it in the car.
Dad's voice drifted over, and hope immediately flared up in me. I just wanted to apologize, to ask Dad to open the suitcase and let me out. With a violent shake, I felt the suitcase being lifted and then turned upside down. My body was suspended upside down inside, and a suffocating sensation hit me in an instant. I tried to struggle and bang on the inside of the suitcase, but the walls were too thick, and my strength was too weak. Even the sounds I struggled to make were drowned out by my parents' voices.
The master said, "Whatever needs to be burned must be burned completely. If you don't send the trapped child away, she won't be willing to leave."
Shut up. Isn't this all Heather's fault? It was she who harmed JoJo. Mom's sharp voice cut in. If she hadn't dragged JoJo out to play hide-and-seek, would the girl have lost her body? My JoJo doesn't even have her bones left. The second half of her sentence became hoarse, every word heavy with leaden pain. My throat felt as if it were suddenly strangled, unable to make a sound anymore. My sister's death was like a sharp arrow piercing straight into my heart, long since merged with my flesh and blood. In the stifling space, the air thin and turbid, my mind became increasingly numb, and my consciousness began to blur. Dazed in suffocation, I seemed to see a little girl standing far away, calling me with a clear voice. "New child, big sister, let's play hide-and-seek. I'm going to hide now." I held my body for a moment, as if by physical reflex. My knees went soft, and I knelt down with a thud. "Don't. Let's not play hide-and-seek anymore. Sorry, JoJo, it's my fault. I harmed you." The apology I had thought of countless times while locked in the suitcase came out stuttered and messy when I spoke. I actually wanted to say, if possible, I would willingly trade my life for hers, just as Mom had prayed again and again. Lifting my head once more, my soul unexpectedly drifted lightly out of the suitcase. But in front of me was not the sister I dreamed of day and night, but Mom standing in a daze. She muttered as if talking to herself. "Do we really have to burn it all?" JoJo's things, her clothes, the doll I sewed for her by hand. Bit by bit, I dug them out from the rubble. It's all Heather's fault for harming her. JoJo can't even rest in peace in death. Tell me, is she the retribution heaven has sent down on me? Mom's emotions became agitated again, the sadness between her brows turning into deep hatred. She believed the master's words, thinking that the dead must have a whole body to be reincarnated, and I was the one preventing my sister from finding peace. Dad gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. He turned his head, his face wrinkled and weary, his eye sockets sunken, even his voice was weak.
"It's been a long time. As the master said, JoJo should go where she needs to go, and the living should move on.
He forced a smile.
Later, we can have another child. The three of us will live happily."
Dad's voice was light, but my soul trembled a little. A family of 3 without me. I was the thorn my parents wanted to pull out the most. Actually, I always knew, the face identical to my sister's and her life that I was carrying on my shoulders. That's why a few days ago I secretly went to many orphanages, summoning all my courage to ask the director if they accepted children. But now looking at my transparent body, I felt this might be better. If I'm dead, my parents won't see me and be in pain. Will my sin in their hearts fade a little? The closer the car got to the destination, the more visibly Mom's body trembled. It had been nearly 5 years since the earthquake. The place where it happened had changed completely, with new buildings springing up close together. Only the patch of land where my sister and I met with the accident remained desolate and ruined. I remembered clearly that day. My parents dug through every block of stone in the rubble like crazy, disregarding everything until all 10 fingertips were bleeding.
Jojo likes barbecue-flavored potato chips. I specifically bought a few extra packs. And there's fragrant milk too. I brought quite a lot.
Dad took the food from the car and laid it out on the desolate ground one by one. Mom's eyes were already soaked. Seeing Dad take the suitcase down, she immediately rushed forward but was blocked by Dad. "Let me just take one look," she begged, her voice full of despair. Fatigue and heartbreak were evident between Dad's eyebrows. Dad put his hand on the suitcase's combination lock, seeming to hesitate. My heart felt choked in my throat. Did Mom and Dad discover it? Did they realize they took the wrong suitcase, that inside was not my sister's belongings but my body?
Looking will make it harder to let go. Forget it. Don't open it. Let the past remain in the past.
Dad sighed helplessly, but Mom's hand still didn't withdraw. While the two were still struggling, Dad's phone rang. He picked up, and on the other end was the anxious voice of the maid. "New, via phone, Mr. Hayes, I can't find Heather again. She's hidden somewhere again." Mom snatched the phone, her emotions igniting. "Why do you care? She's doing it on purpose, deliberately choosing this very day to cause trouble for us. Ms. Wu, lock her door, let her hide to her heart's content." Annoyance also appeared in Dad's eyes.
I also told the Annie not to worry about it anymore.
Then he abruptly hung up. Does she think hiding and not appearing in front of me will earn forgiveness? Mom snorted coldly. The atmosphere sank, but something compressed seemed to be silently fermenting in the silence. Dad didn't reply, just quietly prepared to light the fire. But in Mom's eyes, the fire burned even more fiercely. It's all Heather's fault. It's her. She caused me to be unable to keep even the last few belongings of Jojo. We treated her so well, how could she be so cruel? When the earthquake happened, she invited her sister to play hide-and-seek, and now that Jojo is dead, she can't even be reincarnated. Does she really hate her sister that much? Mom's eyes were red, gritting her teeth as she cursed. I had heard these words hundreds of times. I knew Mom was in so much pain she needed something to vent on. I tilted my head to look at Dad. On his face, there was no pity left for me, only numbness and coldness. Because of me, he lost his youngest daughter. Also because of me, Mom became a person with severe psychological illness. Dad is a lawyer. Rationality and calmness are his principles of life, but the pain repeating day after day corroded that reason, leaving him no choice but to blame me. Before, when I was hurt by Mom, he would secretly give me a sweet candy when I hid in the wardrobe, leaning against the door to apologize. Nom, flashback Heather, Mom is just having an episode, just hide a little longer. Dad knows you feel aggrieved. But later he started secretly drinking in places Mom couldn't see. He also grabbed me once, questioning relentlessly why I dragged my sister to play hide-and-seek. Then later still, he ignored it when Mom beat me until I was injured, personally locked my door, and forgot to bring food for the child locked up all day. And now he spoke in a tired voice.
After sending Jojo off, I'll take that girl to the countryside. We'll start over after that.
As if I were something worthless, discarded without regret. My heart seemed to skip a beat. I wanted to smile, wanted to be happy for my parents, happy that they finally escaped the nightmare and had the courage to start over. But before my eyes, the fire had been kindled, eager to burn away the last traces of me. My empty chest still hurt uncomfortably. Mom hugged my sister's teddy bear, her eyes vacant. I merged my soul into the teddy bear, as if returning to Mom's embrace. The warmth I hadn't touched for a long time covered me. I remembered when I was just rescued from the rubble, before I could even see my surroundings clearly. I was held tight in Mom's arms. But that last bit of warmth shattered under a slap from Mom just because I uttered the 3 words, hide and seek. The fire began to flare up. Dad threw the teddy bear in Mom's hand into the fire. Mom's face turned pale as she stared at the suitcase, then stumbled forward to hug it tightly. "Please, let me stay with Jojo a little longer," she sobbed, her voice pleading, almost desperate. Dad's face was full of conflict and pain. I found myself sinking into guilt again. If Mom and Dad discovered my body was in the suitcase, they would probably be angry. They would feel very unlucky, wouldn't they? I just had to choose today to die, ruining my sister's path to reincarnation. My soul anxiously flew around my parents, but I could only watch helplessly as Dad forcefully snatched the suitcase, as if he had made up his mind, and with a straight kick, kicked it into the fire. The fire flared up with crackling sounds. "That's not right. This isn't Jojo's suitcase," Mom suddenly screamed, her trembling hand pointing at the suitcase burning in the fire, asserting with certainty. "Jojo likes pink stickers. Her suitcase clearly has Hello Kitty stickers." Dad froze, understanding nothing. "This is Heather's suitcase." I was startled and immediately tense. I thought Mom would remember that I was locked in the suitcase and never released, but in the next second, Mom screamed again, her face full of the familiar resentment towards me. "Did you pack without looking? How could you use Heather's dirty suitcase to hold Jojo's things? Burning this for Jojo will make her angry." Dad was stunned, and even I was stunned. Was it just because of this? Mom not only didn't remember me, but even my suitcase disgusted her. "No, we can't burn this dirty thing for Jojo." Mom looked like she wanted to rush into the fire like a madwoman. Dad quickly hugged her tight. He held the frantic Mom in his arms to reassure her.
Okay, calm down. Don't be like this. It's just a suitcase. It's okay. It doesn't affect anything."
Mom was held tight, the fire illuminating her pale face. She opened her eyes wide, covering her nose and mouth, looking as if she was about to faint. Realizing there was something unusual about Mom's emotions, Dad stared at my suitcase, his face also becoming extremely unsightly. He was probably cursing me too, cursing me for not being peaceful even in death.
"All right, let's go home first."
Dad could only gently pat Mom's back, ignoring the dying fire, and hurriedly helped her into the car. He gave Mom a pill, waited until she fell asleep, and then texted someone.
"Thank you, doctor. Jojo's things have been handled. Please tell my wife that the girl has successfully reincarnated."
The other side replied very quickly. "Nom. Reading message, you're welcome. I hope this therapy can help your wife get through it. We'll schedule the next appointment." Only then did I understand there was no master at all. It was just a play staged by Dad and the psychologist to help Mom escape the nightmare that had lasted for years. A clever plan, if not for me. I looked out the car window, seeing my body still trapped in that suitcase, silently praying that no one would ever find my body, so my flesh could rot in this ruin, becoming nutrients for my sister's rebirth. But my hope quickly shattered when the car returned home. I saw a few people standing at the gate. Dad helped the still-dazed Mom out of the car. Ms. Wu among the crowd looked as if a burden had been lifted, sighing in relief. She pointed at my parents and spoke hurriedly. Ms. Wu there. These are Heather's parents. They're back. You can ask them." Dad stood frozen, not understanding what was happening. But I recognized one of them, a lady wearing glasses. It was the director of the orphanage I had visited a few days ago. That day she had squatted down, looked at me gently, and asked why I wanted to enter the orphanage. I stuttered, just bowed my head shyly and whispered, "Mom and Dad won't be happy because of me at home." She paused slightly, wanting to ask more about my family situation, but I kept my mouth shut and ran away in panic. I didn't expect her to bring people to find my home. Another lady also stepped forward, taking documents out of her bag. Official hello, I am from the local Women's Federation. We would like to ask about the situation of the child, Heather Hayes. Mom, what Heather? Hearing my name, Mom was immediately like a triggered bomb. She glared at them, smiling sarcastically. New Mom Women's Federation? That brat Heather really has some nerve. Now she knows how to bring people to back her up. So, did she tell outsiders that we abuse her? Mom's demeanor made the people from the Women's Federation and the director frown. I didn't know that after a few times I sneaked to the orphanage, the director had realized something was wrong and had even gone to my school several times to investigate. The teachers also recalled very clearly. Nom, teacher, flashback, this child is usually very quiet and quite introverted. Mentioning her parents, I seem to rarely see them, or the parents often ask for leave. Every time after school, she has to wait for all the students to be picked up before walking home alone quietly. So the director was worried and specially contacted the Women's Federation to ask about my situation.
Sorry, but you don't seem to have the right to interfere in other people's family affairs.
Dad stood in front of Mom, frowning, his voice full of annoyance.
Ms. Wu, don't let random people into the house in the future.
He put his arm around Mom, wanting to go in, but the director stepped forward and spoke gently. New director apologies to Heather's father. The thing is, Heather ran to the orphanage several times saying she wanted to live with the children there. We wanted to investigate a bit to see if this unusual behavior is due to any difficulties the child is facing that adults don't know about. Is Heather at home? Can we talk together? Mentioning my name, Dad paused slightly, seemingly only now remembering that I was also his daughter. New Mom, Heather wants to go to an orphanage? Good. That's exactly where she should be. When she was born, I don't know why I didn't just dump her in there. Mom screamed, her emotions becoming more and more out of control.
Ms. Wu, take the mistress back to the car first. I'll get some medicine, then take her to the hospital.
Dad turned to instruct, his eyes looking at the people from the Women's Federation turning cold.
My wife isn't well. I have to take her to the hospital.
He turned back into the house, slamming the door shut with a bang. Looking exhausted, he stumbled towards the bedroom but tripped over something at his feet. Dad steadied himself and looked down. It was a suitcase he had kicked over. And spilling out of the suitcase were my sister's clothes, my sister's dolls, my sister's small blanket. In that moment, Dad went numb. After a moment of numbness, he rushed to my room, tremblingly unlocked it, then opened the wardrobe, searched the bookshelf, even looked under the bed, but there was no sign of me anywhere.
Heather, where are you? Stop hiding.
My soul hovered beside him, watching Dad search every small corner of the house. What does it mean? Will Dad really find me? That day, playing hide-and-seek, unable to find Jojo, my parents suffered for a lifetime. But I'm different. Not finding me means I'm atoning for my sister, so my parents can open up a new life.
It can't be that suitcase.
Dad tremblingly opened his old purchase history. The words self-locking in the product description were like a blade stabbing straight into his eyes. Dad sat on the floor in a daze for a full minute. In his eyes was a shock and confusion I had never seen. Then he propped himself up and staggered to his feet as if nothing had happened. He gathered all of my sister's belongings from the suitcase into a trash bag and hid them. Dad went out to take Mom to see the doctor first. On the way, the master texted Mom again. Nom, master, message, I've calculated it. The child's attachment has dissolved. She has successfully reincarnated. Before leaving, she asked me to send a message to you too. New, Mom, really? What did Jojo say? Nom, master, message, she will definitely be happy in her next life. Mom's eyes lit up instantly, tears flowing along. Nom, master, message, she says don't worry, just live on. After reading it, Mom cried profusely. By the time they reached the psychology clinic, Mom's emotions were much more stable. The doctor made a preliminary examination and saw good results, so he told the assistant to take Mom to the side room for hypnotherapy. Then he turned to Dad with a smile. Nom, Dr. Mr. Hayes, this method of yours is truly effective. You understand your wife best. Sometimes when obsession is buried too deep, you have to push the patient a little. I see your wife's condition is quite good recently. I'll prescribe some more medicine. You two go back and rest. You can go on a trip in a few days to relax. He said that, but Dad's face looked even worse. I moved closer and could hear Dad's heavy, rapid breathing, and the chaotic beating of his heart in his chest. Dad took Mom, who had calmed down, back to the car to go home. All the way, Mom talked incessantly. "New, Mom, the master said so. Jojo is fine, that's great. Jojo, rest assured, Mom won't forget you, but Mom will also try to live well. We all have to live very well." I looked at her stiff smile, both happy that Mom was recovering and painful that I had become the cause of Mom's trauma again. The car drove steadily, and during that time, Ms. Wu texted again. "New, Ms. Wu, message sir. I cleaned up thoroughly today and the food is ready, but still no movement from Heather. She probably hasn't eaten all day. Should I continue to lock her in?" Dad leaned over to hide the phone so Mom wouldn't see, then typed a line. "Nom, texting, don't worry about it, you can go home. Don't come for the next few days either, we'll be going out." He turned to see Mom rarely cracking a smile, while his face became even gloomier. Outside, the sunset was brilliant. Mom leaned against the car window with a peaceful expression never seen before. She was immersed in her own world, completely unaware of the heavy atmosphere on Dad's side. Then the phone rang like a bomb. The voice on the other side was serious, cold, uttering what I feared most. "Nom, police. Via phone, hello, are you the parents of Heather Hayes? We found your daughter's body in the desolate mountain area west of the city. Please come to the police station immediately." In the silent car, every word fell clearly into my parents' ears like thunder in a clear sky. Although I didn't want to admit it, the truth was that this short, peaceful moment was finally broken by me. The body in the suitcase. My body was discovered by an old man clearing land nearby. Seeing the half-burnt suitcase, he curiously brushed away the layer of ash and a second later collapsed in fear. In his eyes, widened to the limit by fear, my mangled body was clearly reflected. The thin, twisted figure, the charred skin carbonized, looking no different from a dry branch consumed by fire. They immediately called the police. After going in circles, the bad news still reached my parents' ears. A deathly silence spread throughout the space in the car. Dad's hand gripped the steering wheel so hard that his veins popped out. He moved his trembling eyes, cautiously observing Mom's reaction. Mom's face showed a fleeting look of confusion, as if trying to digest the sentence just now. But as long as I was mentioned, Mom's brain seemed programmed to always link me with hatred. "New, Mom Heather? I almost forgot about that wretch. What trick is she playing this time? She can't stand her sister being reincarnated and living well, so she has to deliberately cause trouble for us, right? This time she's even more capable, colluding with someone to fake death. If she wants to die, why didn't she die sooner? When the earthquake happened, she should have just been crushed to death." Every vicious curse followed one after another, while I breathed a sigh of relief. Good, it's good. Mom hasn't discovered that I'm actually dead. If Mom is happy that I'm dead, then it's worth it. I gave a small, weak smile. Dad took Mom home. Mom immediately screamed. "New, Mom, where is Heather? Get out here. Stop hiding." Mom was always like that. It seemed that since the earthquake, I had become the source of all disasters. Only by venting all her hatred on me could she feel a little relieved. "New, Mom, why won't you come out? Do you think if you hide, if you fake death, I'll be heartbroken for you? Will I love you like I love your sister? Don't dream." Mom ran around the room like a madwoman. "New, Mom, come out. I have to send you away. Send you to the orphanage. I will live well just as Jojo wished. Don't come to disturb me anymore." I didn't understand why Mom reacted so violently. Clearly before, Mom never wanted to see me, wishing I would hide in the wardrobe or the suitcase forever and never step out. Now that I've truly disappeared, why does she want to find me?
Calm down. I told Ms. Wu to take Heather away. In a few days, I'll take her to the countryside to be fostered. You won't see her anymore.
Dad quickly stepped forward to reassure her. Those words spoken by Dad made Mom believe immediately. She sat blankly on the chair, looked up and asked, "New, Mom, did you really send her away?" Receiving a definite answer, Mom nodded calmly, her expression complex. No more screaming, no more cursing me. Perhaps she felt liberated. After soothing Mom, Dad used the excuse of being busy with work to leave the house again. I knew Dad was going to collect my body. Arriving at the police station, Dad was indeed interrogated. Police, why was the child in the suitcase? And why did the suitcase appear in that wasteland? Who lit the fire? There were no surveillance cameras there anymore. Dad had to explain everything. I looked at the police officer's grave face, his eyes looking at Dad like a criminal. Anxiety flew wildly in the air. It's not Dad's fault. My death has nothing to do with my parents. But no one heard my voice. Only Dad remained calm as he recounted everything, his voice like dead water.
5 years ago, an earthquake happened there, and my youngest daughter died under the rubble. My wife developed a psychological illness because of it. This time I put the girls' belongings in a suitcase, intending to burn them together, considering it as sending her on her final journey, and also to force my wife to step out of the past. It's just, I didn't expect Heather to crawl inside herself, and then be taken by mistake by me.
He finished speaking calmly and then went with the police to stand before my body. The dad, who was always clear-headed and opinionated, seemed completely disorganized at that moment. He stood at the door, his steps halted, not daring to move forward. Only after taking 2 deep breaths did he continue to step forward. And then he finally saw me. In just one day, I had turned into a corpse without any sensation. My whole body was severely charred, and the tips of my limbs were no longer intact. What shocked people the most was my shrunken body and distorted face, so much so that no expression could be distinguished.
Is this Heather?
He spoke hoarsely, but dared not believe it was me. The police didn't answer. Following his gaze, they looked at the corner of the wall where the charred suitcase was placed. It was indeed the one taken away this morning. The room instantly fell into a deathly silence. Suddenly, a shrill female voice tore through the atmosphere. Mom, where is Heather? Tell that brat to get out here. What trick is she planning now? She's got some nerve, daring to drag the police into this. I drifted outside, seeing Mom struggling out of the policeman's grasp. Seeming to have a premonition, she rushed straight into this room. And then met her gaze. Mom, isn't this great? Heather is getting more capable, staging such a big play. Mom spoke sarcastically, but her voice trembled as if even she didn't expect it. A young policeman intervened, looking awkward. Young police officer, this woman claims to be the victim's mother, insisting on rushing in. Mom, victim? How would Heather dare to die? Her life is tough. Even such a big earthquake couldn't crush her to death. Mom cursed angrily, trying to maintain her momentum as before. But the white light shining down from above made her face pale and bloodless. Before the cursing ended, the smell of the corpse in the air quickly crept into her nose. The first reaction came from the body. It is often said that when people feel pain, the first reaction is in the stomach. Mom was caught off guard, her stomach churning, leaning against the wall and starting to retch. Her eyes stubbornly refused to look down, but finally had to fall on my body. The charred body, the face no longer having a shape. I don't know if Mom recognized me. I only saw her vomiting endlessly from discomfort, physiological tears wetting her face. Mom looked so pathetic. Since my sister died, Mom seemed to live forever in that wretchedness. In my memory, the knowledgeable, gentle, and always smiling mother had disappeared long ago. She became disheveled, sloppily dressed, screaming wildly, bitter and cruel. I used to think my death could liberate Mom, but in the end, I ruined everything once again. Forensic doctor, the autopsy results are in. The direct cause of the victim's death was asphyxiation. In other words, before being burned, she was locked in a sealed suitcase for over 4 hours. Before dying, the victim was suspended upside down in the suitcase, leading to severe hypoxia. And in the victim's fingernails, we found many fragments from the inner lining of the suitcase. The forensic doctor recounted up to here, his voice calm as if narrating, suddenly choked up a little. Forensic doctor before death, she certainly endured a lot of pain. The air stifled for a second, as if a heavy stone pressed on everyone's heart. As if feeling that pain with me, everyone in the room found it hard to breathe. Old police officer, so why was the child in the suitcase for over 4 hours? Locked inside, and you two as parents didn't discover it? An older police officer spoke coldly, his eyes sharp as a hawk staring at Mom. The moment their eyes met, it was like igniting Mom's long-suppressed emotions. Knew, Mom, she wanted to play hide-and-seek herself. She crawled in there herself. It's all her fault. Serves her right, she should have had this ending 5 years ago. Mom spoke every word, her voice hoarse like a bird with a broken neck, trying to scream until her last breath. My parents were detained at the police station. If not for Mom's crazy cursing, perhaps Dad could have handled everything smoothly. After all, he was a good lawyer and had many friends in the legal profession. This matter was originally just an accident if one knew how to speak. But the police found many people to investigate: Ms. Wu, the orphanage director, my teachers, neighbors. Neighbor that used to tell her to go play hide-and-seek, and then Heather obediently crawled into the cupboard or suitcase. The adults even said not to mind, just let her hide. Very strange. Teacher, and they rarely cared about the girl, didn't even call her for meals. It's obvious to anyone that this couple doesn't like their eldest daughter. Neighbor, his wife mumbled all day. She looked normal in the neighborhood before, kept saying she only had one child named Jojo. Later we found out Jojo was the youngest daughter who died. Teacher, the parents rarely came to school. The girl always walked to school and back alone. Director, that's right. Heather came to the orphanage several times, saying she wanted to stay. The child seemed unwell. I suspected she might be suffering from domestic violence. All testimonies were recorded. Dad looked at them and just smiled slightly, not denying. Dad, I apologize. I will stay to cooperate with the investigation. But my wife has a psychological illness. She just showed some improvement. Can you please not stimulate her anymore? He made a request, but the police couldn't agree to let Mom return to the hospital. Instead, they called a doctor. While implementing a soft approach, they were also cruel to the end. The police opened the recording in the house, playing it in front of my parents. In the video, Mom lost control once again, frantically taking a glass of water on the table and throwing it at my head. I stood silently, the broken porcelain grazing my cheek, still smiling foolishly at Mom. Mom in real life froze at that moment. She was temporarily pulled out of her agitated state by the psychologist. I didn't know how sane Mom was at this moment. I only saw a look of confusion and doubt flash in her eyes. Perhaps she was also wondering if that crazy woman in the video was really her? Mom in video, get out. Get away from me. It's all because of you, wretch. Those familiar curses again, that action repeated countless times. In the video, Mom dragged me to the suitcase. I didn't cry, didn't resist, like a lifeless doll letting her stuff me in. I obediently curled up as if returning to my mother's womb. The moment the suitcase lid closed, I smiled with longing, softly calling Mom. Even now, I don't clearly know why I spoke up then. I only remember the last moment when I saw Mom. A ray of sunlight quietly shone into the room. The thin golden light covered her face, making those features gentler and warmer than ever. As if returning to the old days when my sister and I held hands looking up at Mom. I almost didn't think my lips touched, naturally like flowing water, letting out the call. Heather in video, whisper Mom. That call followed me through my short life, like an umbilical cord pulling me to the world, then invisibly tightening around my throat. The sound was really very soft, no one would have heard it then. But in the absolute silence of the police station, that call became clearer than ever. Like a mallet striking Mom hard, hitting straight into her heart. Mom's whole body trembled visibly. She suddenly remembered that no one had called her like that for a long time. My mother wasn't like this before. In my memory, Mom was a capable, gentle professor, her knowledge no less than Dad, a famous lawyer. Mom read history stories to me, taught me how to be a good person. When my sister and I argued, Mom always disciplined us seriously, never favoring anyone. But because of me, Mom became unusually agitated, even vicious like she is now. Without warning, Mom suddenly went mad, snatched the mouse from the policeman's hand, and started switching surveillance feeds. People who wanted to stop Mom were held back by the old policeman. So everyone had to watch Mom open day after day of the camera footage. On the screen, those scenes repeated, the mother losing control, the father exhausted soothing her, and me silently appearing in each frame, making no sound. I usually appeared when Mom's emotions were not too agitated. While Mom wasn't paying attention, I would secretly add water to the cup she just finished drinking. I would wipe clean the photo hanging on Mom's wall, especially the one where Mom stood in front of the university gate holding a stack of books. I wiped it until it shone. I would cover Mom with a blanket when she slept on the sofa. And when Mom wasn't paying attention, I would gently rest my head on her knee, greedily smelling Mom's scent. New, Heather in video, whisper Mom. Mom. Only then did I dare to call that name, softly, tremblingly, but sincerely. The camera paused at the part where Mom was sleeping, frowning due to a nightmare. And I gently patted Mom's back, singing the lullaby Mom used to sing for us when we were small. The frame froze and reflected Mom staring blankly at the screen. Her eyes were vague and panicked like a child who didn't know what to do. For years, Mom had been locked in a loop of nightmares, trapped in hatred for me. She didn't see me, didn't remember I used to be her pride, her treasure. Until this moment, the news of my death was like a large stone hitting without warning, smashing the thick wall between mother and daughter. She realized, even though she only sent me hatred and bitterness, I was still like a small sprout of grass easy to raise. Just having been nurtured by Mom a little, I would try to survive, then stubbornly risk my life to pour all my love back to Mom, even if she never accepted it. New, Mom, where is Heather? Where is Heather hiding? History seemed to repeat itself. Mom stood up and grabbed Dad's sleeve, her voice trembling. New, Mom, tell her to stop hiding. Hide and seek isn't fun. Stop hiding. She looked up and met Dad's eyes. Eyes full of pain and age. Years of suffering mixed together, pouring into that moment, making Mom's eyes suddenly brighten for a second, then tears immediately flowed out like a stream. New, Mom, is she dead? Is Heather dead? They both died. Why did they both die? Mom couldn't take it anymore, threw herself into Dad's chest and cried. From that day on, Mom returned to normal. She no longer needed medicine, no longer went mad or got angry without reason. Dad didn't argue a single sentence in court. He just calmly accepted the verdict. When being led away, he turned back and smiled. The smile of a person who has been liberated. For years he lived like a taut string and finally, it broke. Nom, Dad, I'm too tired, child. Mom's expression was still strange. She only said one sentence, and that sentence crushed my heart. New, Mom, if I hadn't believed that Master believed in burning things for Jojo so she could reincarnate, then Heather probably wouldn't have died. Dad sat in front of the courthouse gate and laughed loudly. Nom, Dad, it's my fault. I was stupid enough to believe that superstition. Why am I so ridiculous? Haha. But after laughing for a few seconds, tears fell like a broken string of beads. Mom's back gradually hunched over. I heard her whisper. New, Mom, I'm sorry, Heather. Mom is sorry. I flew in front of Mom, using my fragile soul to wipe away that tear. I wanted to say, I don't blame you, Mom. A gentle breeze blew past, carrying away Mom's tears, carrying away my love and resentment, and carrying away my soul as well.